everyone, we're back again. Today it's kind of I think it's really interesting. I don't know. I find a lot of things interesting, and I wonder if people get bored of me saying it's really interesting every time I get on here. But honestly, I think we live in such a diverse world. It's nice to know what's going on around about us. We have Amanda Rader. She insurance to talk to us about some things like what's going on with the reform right now. I think this is fascinating. It's a little scary, and yet it's also good. So it's going to be something of interest. So let me bring her on, and we're going to find out more about her as well. Hey.
Hi. Hey.
So how about we start with what you do as an insurance broker, how that separates you from an insurance agent, and what you can offer.
Okay. So I work for Preferred Insurance Services out of Dowagiac. We actually have quite a few different offices. I work in the Dowagiac one. We have about 15 different companies, which makes us unique. And also independent agencies that are the same thing. We have 15 different companies, so we can give you better rates. We can quote them out different places. That kind of helps us here. And so we do home, auto, life, business, anything but medical here. So that kind of gives us a broad spectrum to try to help everybody out.
So basically, does that mean that you can shop the rates, or is it that one insurance company will offer something better than the other? What is the purpose of having like multiple companies?
We have a rating system. So we have all our companies in a rater. We put all your information in there, and then it pops out the best rates. Now, rates, everyone wants the best rate, right? But sometimes coverages are really important too. So I can look at the company and say, these are the top two premium wise. And then I can also look at what comes with those companies as far as coverages goes. So that gives us a little bit of room to move around.
Oh, that's fantastic. So Let's start with insurance reform, which is going to be the probably dullest but most interesting, I think, part of it. People won't think so. And then we can talk about some of the other changes. What is the big news in this reform that's come through?
Okay, two major changes is the buy limit. So your liability minimum right now in Michigan is $20,000, $40,000, and that is going to go up to $250,000, $500,000. You can opt up or opt down to $50,000, $100,000 with signed forms. So that's a major change. Another change is the medical in Michigan.
So this is all auto insurance, right?
This is all auto insurance. Yes, ma'am. So you can, right now in Michigan, we're unlimited. So you get in a car accident, all your medical coverages are covered to an unknown dollar amount, whatever it is. And now you have the option to stay unlimited. You can choose $500,000, $250,000. If you're on Medicaid or Medicare, you can also choose either opting out or a $50,000 option. And then if you have health insurance through your employer that covers primary on medical, you can opt out as well.
Okay. Well, I was telling you a story before that I remember 12 years ago, my brother-in-law broke his back in a car accident, not his spinal cord, just his back. And so we like to call him the $250,000 man because the amount of hardware he has. But I know that the entire cost exceeded the amount of the stuff that's actually inside of him.
Yep. It's crazy. You never think about it now because when you get in an accident, no matter what it is, you're covered. Whether you have health insurance or you don't have health insurance, you have auto insurance, your bills are paid. And now people are going to be choosing and picking and choosing, and then you never know what's going to happen in the future. Are you going to get in a big accident? Is it just going to be a fender bender? You don't know. And are you going to have enough coverage to help with that?
So what do we think? If we wanted to be unlimited, how much is that going to increase our premiums by?
It's not going to increase your premiums. Each company is a little different. So I don't want to make a blanket statement here. No. But companies overall, as far as we've been told, are going to take a little bit of a rate decrease overall, even if you keep the unlimited.
Okay.
But then the lower you go, obviously, the cheaper the premium would be, depending on what you choose.
So if somebody, for instance, because you guys don't do health insurance, but if somebody doesn't have health insurance, this is still a great way to cover anything that might happen to you in a car accident.
Yes, ma'am.
Yep. Okay. So bearing that in mind, we've seen quite a few different industries reducing premiums and rates and different things because of what's been going on. So many people are stuck at home. They're just not driving as much. Yep. What are you seeing with the companies that you're working with?
We're seeing 15 to 25% payback, I guess is what you would call it, on your April and May payments. So different companies are doing it different ways. Some are taking it off the May and June bills. Some people are just paying it out in checks if you pay in full. So each company is doing different things, but here we're seeing 15 to 25% off your April and May bills.
Okay. Do you think that, for instance, it's already been extended into half of May? Do we think that they'll extend it further? Do you think that that's what the companies will do or not?
I'm not sure. I know they're taking on a lot of money by doing it this way, and there are still a lot of essential people out driving. So I don't know what they're going to do going forward. We haven't heard anything. Basically, the April and May, and then everyone else has been focusing on this reform. So we haven't heard anything about an extension.
So, all right. So if we're going to talk through things like that, how does it work if you bundle? Because it's something that I think a lot of us don't understand. We know that if we add them together, we get a discount. We know that, but also, for instance, you sell a car, say you've got 3 cars and you sell a car and you reduce it. Why do you then get punished? Why do they up the premiums on the remaining 2?
Well, a lot of companies, what they do is they do a discount per vehicle. So say you have 2 vehicles, you have a multi-car discount. Well, say you get a 3rd vehicle, that's an extra 3rd car discount. So then when you remove that 3rd car, you go back down to that just 2-car discount versus the 3rd car discount. And rates go into that. With insurance is the most confusing, probably industry, I feel like, because people want to know why. Why is it this much and now it's this much? So my parents, for instance, they have Progressive. So their cars, they took one of my sister's vehicles off. So they had 2 cars. Well, at their renewal, those 2 cars were different than before the 2 cars were put on. And I'm like, I can't explain to you why. Rates, because they want to know what's the difference. Explain it to me. Well, insurance companies have hundreds of thousands of different ways that they rate things, where you live, what your age is, what vehicles, how old the vehicle is, what safety mechanisms are in the vehicle. So they don't tell us as agents all of that. Half of them probably don't actually know what all the detailed ratings are unless you're in that part. So it's really hard for us to explain those little details. All I can usually say is a rate increase, and then I can re-rate you if I find something cheaper, because we can't really manipulate those numbers.
So what types of things can you bundle together?
Depends on the company, because each company has different products that they offer.
Yeah.
But a lot of times your RVs, either if they're not going on your auto policy, that's a bundle. Motorcycles, homes, condos, ATVs, snowmobiles, boats, all of those things can be a bundle. The biggest bundle is going to be your home and your auto, and that's going to give you the biggest multi-policy discount.
Okay. And what types of different home insurance are there?
So you have your condo insurance, your renter's insurance, and your home insurance. Those are the major 3 that we push here. Obviously, there's also landlords. And then when you get into the landlord insurance, you're looking at, is it occupied? Is it not occupied? So there's a lot of different segments to it, but those are the main 3. Are you renting? Do you live in it? Or is it a condo, which is a little bit different, obviously, than a home.
What type of things does renter's insurance actually cover?
It's going to cover the liability, and it's going to cover your contents. Also, if you have to move out for some reason, say something's wrong with the house, there's a claim on the home for the landlord side, it'll cover you staying somewhere else until it's fixed. Those are the main things. Usually it's a content coverage that gets, for claims, it's usually the contents. Somebody broke in, or there was a fire or something like that.
Now, what does liability actually mean?
Okay, so if I am at my home and my dog bites someone and they sue me at my home, then that's going to be they're going to sue me, and the liability is then going to cover that.
Okay.
Or if I live on a lake and someone drowns and they sue me because they're at my house, that's going to be the liability.
Okay. So we've got renter's insurance and then home insurance. So somebody's living in a home. What does that cover?
It's going to be the dwelling coverage is the main coverage. And that's really important. People they like to get that dwelling down because the dwelling really drives the premium. The bigger the home, usually the higher the premium for the homeowners. But it's really important to make sure that you give your agent the right information on the home. Because if something does happen and we don't have the right information, you didn't give us enough square footage, or you didn't tell us about the 2-car attached garage, or you didn't, we don't have the right information, then if something does happen, you're not going to be covered correctly. And then there's going to be a frustration on your side because you don't have what you need on our side because we feel like we didn't do our best for you. and then there's going to be the insurance company is going to be frustrated because they didn't have it insured right either. So making sure we have accurate information, roof age, square footage, all those sorts of things. So that's a dwelling coverage. Then you'll have other structures, which will be anything not attached to your home. So say you have a detached garage or a pole barn or a shed, something like that. And then you'll have your contents, your personal property. So anything that's personally yours or for the upkeep of the home. So say you have a lawnmower or something like that that helps
So do you have
upkeep.
you have to have receipts?
What?
I was saying, do you have to have receipts for everything? How do you justify or show proof?
I tell people if you can take pictures of your home every once in a while and keep them on your cell phone or something like that. It does get hard to prove those things. I know my husband over the last 20 years, he has so many things out in that garage. He throws this receipt away as he's walking out of the store. So it's hard to prove some of those things. So I tell people, if you can, go through and just snap pictures every once in a while. If it's a total loss, then you're going to have a little bit more leeway. If it's a theft or something like that, they do get a little more particular. Obviously depends on the company. There's different things that they have, rules and that they have to follow. You're going to have coverage. It's just how to prove you had it. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Well, what's something surprising people don't realize is covered in their insurance?
A lot of people, it's like lawnmowers and tractors and stuff like that. That's for the upkeep of the home. Now, don't get that skewed. Like four-wheelers, not covered. Okay. You got to have your own policy for that. And also a place to stay. So I had a claim this past fall, and they had to live somewhere else. And they're like, oh, they're going to pay for me to live somewhere else. And I'm like, yeah, they're going to pay for you to stay somewhere where your house is rebuilt. So a lot of people don't realize all the things that are built into your policy. Fire department service charges. So if somebody calls the fire department to come out, who's going to pay for that? Your insurance. There's shrubs and trees. If you have trees around your house and they burn down, they're going to pay for those things. So all of that's included that people don't really think about.
Okay. What about things, personal property? Is there any particular personal property that people have that they don't think is included, or might not even realize is included?
I don't think usually it's all personal property, but you have to understand there are some things that do have limits. So china, furs, things like that, firearms, all of those things, there are going to be a limit depending on what company you are. So it's not like a blanket. If you get stolen and $50,000 worth of firearms are stolen, they're going to be like, yeah, no, we're not paying you that. You have a limit of 5,000. So there are limits on those things. Wedding rings too are a big thing on homeowners, or jewelry that they want listed. So if you have a collection of something or something that's really expensive, you're going to want to probably list it on your policy, because then you're going to be able to put a value to it versus, oh, those were just plates, or that was just a coat, and then wedding rings too would be one where if it's lost or stolen, then there's going to be coverage there.
Oh, cool. What about, so we're talking about landlord insurance. How does landlord insurance differ from home insurance, say?
So the landlord insurance is not going to have any content coverage. It's also going to include like loss of rent. So if someone doesn't pay their rent, it's going to offer some coverage there. Just different things that are more landlord oriented versus if they own it. They're not going to live there. They have no contents there. There's just different, avenues for different things.
What about appliances? Like some will offer a washer dryer, some provide the stove and fridge. Are those things that have to be listed, or are they already included?
A lot of times they're not included, and it's something they have to add onto the policy. And usually with landlords, there's a limit on how much you can add to personal property for a landlord.
And you mentioned before an umbrella policy. What does that actually mean?
Okay, so you have your home liability, you have your auto liability. Those are separate. Your umbrella will cover all of it. So once you say you have a $500,000 liability limit on your home, and something happens and you're sued for more than that $500,000, that's when that umbrella is going to kick in and cover anything that exceeds that up to your limit.
Okay. So you've mentioned the home and the auto. What other insurances do you offer?
We do life insurance and then commercial insurance, where you get into your business, your BOPs, your business insurance, your commercial auto, just commercial liability. We offer all that too. We pretty much do anything but medical. Nobody really wants to get into that.
I don't think any of us really like medical insurance. Like it's just such a nightmare in general.
It is.
So life insurance, I have a pet peeve on this. That's my own thing. There are different policies, and there are some policies I feel like take advantage of people, and there's other policies that I think, and this is a personal feeling. What do you recommend? And do you
Sorry, you beeped out a little bit. What do I recommend and what? I'm sorry.
I said there's some of the life insurances that I feel like they take advantage of people. They don't actually provide what they're saying. Like, you'll have this amount of money and whatever else. What do you think is like the best types of life insurance policies?
It really honestly depends on the person. It depends on what type of health situation you're in, how old you are, because that's what a lot of it is based on. So we do a lot of term life insurance here. Just because it's the most requested, people like that the most. Say you have kids and you want it for 20 years, but you don't want to have to talk about it after that. After 20 years, you have everything set aside that you need, and you wouldn't need life insurance. So we do a lot of term, but that does have health screens, if you're a smoker, non-smoker, that sort of thing. You also can get into the whole life, and we have other options as you get older and want different options for your situation.
So how do they differ? What's the difference between term and whole life?
So term is going to be a yearly thing. So you're going to get $100,000 for 30 years. So in that 30 years, you're going to pay the same premium every month, every year, and then it's still $300,000. And then after that, the premium will go up or whatever. Whole is a little bit different. I actually haven't sold a lot of whole life insurance policies. I have a lady here in the office who is like the master of them and would know more on details of the whole life. You have to be licensed too with insurance. And so it's ever changing.
Fair enough. So what whole life? So if you bundle all of those together, do you find that you can use the one company all the time? Or do you find that, because bundling, you would think it has to be in one. Do you find a lot of people have to use multiple companies, or do you find that they can choose one company that suits their needs?
I have been able to bundle quite a bit. Most of my personal clients are bundled. There are special situations where they have home and auto together, and then they have their recreational vehicles, their boats, other places, just because premiums work out differently with different companies. We have a company, Frankenmuth, we work with a lot. They do a really good bundle with home, auto, and life insurance. So that's a big go-to for us for life insurance, just because they give like a 10% discount and a 5% discount on home and auto. So that's a really big deal just for a life insurance policy. So a lot of times you can put them together. It honestly just depends on the person's needs. Our boat right now go-to has been Progressive. They offer a really good package right now. So a lot of our RVs, boats, ATVs are going to Progressive at this point in time. A lot of our homes are going to Frankenmuth just because premium wise. So it just kind of depends on their credit score, where they live, what they're looking for.
So right now, are you in the office?
I am.
Is that because you're essential?
It is because I'm essential.
Is that a little frustrating?
Some days it is. Some days I just want to, like, my mom and dad are home and I'm like, Chris is working. I was like, I just like to stay home and have no one. But it is nice to still come in the office. Our office is actually, the lobby is closed. But Lucas and I, who works here with me, we've been here since the beginning, and we have a little drop box. So we're still taking payments over the phone and making changes and trying to issue policies.
So having the lobby shut, how has that changed the way you do things? Like, obviously it'd be nice to be in person with people, but surely you do a lot over the phone already, or has it changed anything significantly?
We here in Dowagiac have a lot of walk-in people. We have a lot of people that like the face-to-face, a lot of people that like that interaction. They come in just to talk with us. And so there's been a little bit of frustration, I think, for our clients there, where they're like, do I want to drop off cash through a Dropbox? How do I do this? And we're like, we're here. We like wave through the window. Like, we're going to take care of it right now. So there's been a little bit of that. People just don't know whether to trust to drop off money to people, and they're not used to doing it any other way. They don't do credit cards over the phone, or they don't EFT their payments, So there's been a little bit of a transition, at least the first couple weeks, and now people are starting to get the hang of it, and but not a huge thing, just mostly people getting used to the change. Change is not always smooth for everyone. So
I understand. Have you seen much new business, or are you just mostly like during this time, have there anybody been like, I'm at home, I might as well take care of this now, or what are you seeing?
I've been trying to encourage people to do that, because right now is the time. We're slower than normal because people are kind of shying away from making big down payments on things. So but I'm trying to encourage people, now's the time to look, because if I can save you money, I mean, that's money in your pocket. And starting June and July, and we're getting into this reform, we are going to be swamped. And then you're going to want to be outside, and you're going to want to be spending time with your family and going on your vacations and getting back into work. And then you're going to forget about it again. So I'm trying to encourage people, you take advantage of it now. It's free for us to quote your insurance. It doesn't cost you a thing. It takes you 5 minutes to email me or shoot me a text or send me the stuff real quick, and then I can work on it for you and send it back to you. And we have been slower, but I still have been writing some policies, and some people, it's been on their mind a little bit. So as we go into July, it's just going to hopefully pick right up. So.
Well, here's a question on the reform. How is that going to impact people's existing policies? Are they going to be reduced? Are they going to stay at the max? Like, how does that, is there anything that's happening automatically, or does everybody have to make choices?
Everyone will need to make choices going forward. So if you decide not to make choices, you get your paperwork in the mail, or you get stuff in your email, and you don't make any choices, you'll default to unlimited and 250,000, 500,000 for most of my companies. I don't want to say that for anybody that's not here, but that's the general consensus. If you don't answer, this is what you'll be put in. But everyone kind of needs to make a choice. And I think it's best, do you know what's going on? So look in your mail, look in your email as things are coming up on your renewal. Most companies are doing everything at renewals. There are some companies that will do endorsements midterm if it's something you want to do. So you'll have to contact your agent to see what your company is doing.
All right. What do you think is the best tips that people should know about getting insurance?
Be honest. That is a really big thing, especially in the auto section. People don't like to tell us everyone living in the home, or it's titled to me, and it's not. Auto it's really important just to be honest with us, because we're going to find out. Do you have tickets? Just tell us if you have tickets, because I'm going to find out. I'm going to run your license. Especially now with a reform, household members is going to be a big deal. How many kids do you have? I know they're not driving, but they live in the household. They're covered by the medical. So resident household members will be covered under the new reform. So we need to know how many, so that there's coverage for them. That's one thing. Household members, it's going to be resident household members will be covered under the PIP going forward. Now it's all drivers. That's not the case anymore. So going forward, they need to be a named insured, second name insured, or a resident relative household member.
Okay. So, I mean, that's really important to know, especially if that's a new change going forward.
Yep.
I know that everybody wants to protect their grandparents and their kids. I mean, the people who we, take around with us every single day.
Yep. And if they live in your household, they'll be covered if they're a relative. But say I live with my boyfriend, and he right now is just a driver on my policy. Well, he's not going to be covered under medical moving forward. But if I do add him as a secondary named insured on my policy, which if I do that, he then can change vehicles, change drivers. He has all access to my account, but then he is technically a named insured, and he can be covered under PIP. Again, if I have a kid and my boyfriend has a kid and we all live together, now this covers resident relatives. So if I'm a named insured and I put my boyfriend as a named insured, both of our kids are now covered because they're resident relatives of the named insured.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
No, look, it's a lot of language, and I think because that's the thing, like, I can talk real estate all day long and confuse the shit out of, excuse my French. Anyway, I can like talk real estate all day long, and sometimes I'll talk in my language and my shorthand that doesn't make sense to anybody else.
Yeah.
So, I think I kept up with it, but I'm fairly certain that some of it was starting to get to that point where I'm like,
I know.
absorb.
Well, insurance is so confusing, and I get it because I do it every single day. But there's so many different things that are moving forward and changing. And with this reform, especially, like everyone needs to make sure that they read the paperwork and they answer honestly, because I wouldn't want one of my clients to be in a situation where they didn't understand, so they just answered, or they didn't want to share, so they answered a certain way, and then something happens and you're not going to have coverage. And it's going to make my heart hurt for them. You know what I'm saying?
It doesn't have a specific agent. Like they've done all of their policy online. Who can they go to ask questions of?
You can get a hold of me. I can't promise the answers because I don't know who you have. But I always push to have an agent. I know that technology is great and it's awesome. You can get on there and you can do it yourself. You don't have to deal with people, and then you have it. But there's so many things. If you're not an insurance agent, you don't know what you're picking and if you're picking the right thing. I saw a policy other day and I just shook my head and put my head in my hands. And I'm like, you have no idea. But it was a Progressive Direct policy and they didn't know what they were doing. And so I think it's really important to have an agent, first of all. And that's just not because I'm an agent and I like what I do, but it's important because you have someone to bounce some stuff off of. You also have someone that can go to the company and be on your side and have your back. You have a claim and the company's not getting back to you quick enough, or they're not doing what you think they need to do. You can come to me and I can be like, oh, I got this, and I'll handle it for you because I have more pull than you do. Yeah. We have these contracts with these companies, and so I have a little bit more. I know what I'm talking about. I can kind of get what I need when I need it, where you wouldn't necessarily have that. But I definitely would go to the nearest independent agent or get a hold of me here on Facebook or whatever, and I'll try to answer the questions as much as I can.
So do you have a direct phone number where everybody else has to get like phone rage going through the phone bank in the meantime?
Well, we have just a phone number in the office, and I give all my clients my cell. I'm like, text me, I'll answer.
Fair enough. Well, I appreciate all you've got. We didn't get any specific questions. We've seen a lot of people come in and out, but maybe we were answering their questions. If anybody has any questions, let me know. I will say goodbye to Amanda, and I'll see you again in a minute. All right, guys. Oof, giving away the green screen. Oh my goodness. All right. So I hope that answered a bunch of questions. I was fascinated with the reform coming through and what the changes were, because I really feel like a lot of us don't even look for those things. I mean, it wasn't until I saw her posting information about it that maybe even question it. It's kind of like we're here to provide that information so that in the future, if you have questions, you know that we've got your back. So this is going to be up in a second. If you want to watch it again, if you're looking to find out about more what the reform is about or about insurance in general, I hope you guys enjoy. If you have any questions, let me know. All right, see ya.